So I wanted to start by saying thank you for all of the people who have been standing with me and a lot of the endeavors that we have been going through when it comes to the movement piece. Very, very important that we are strategic about where we're going in the future. It's very important that we are organizing to build a power base. Sometimes that comes, and I'm sorry, let me correct myself, not sometimes that comes, and most times that comes not easily won, but it's hard won, hard battles. We are trying to galvanize a community and bring people together who, number one, are not interested in working together. A lot of times, sometimes they don't want to work together. And just to be frank, some people just want to see things burn up. They want to see things destroyed. So we have to shift through all of that to get to the core of the mission. And the majority of your energy is taken during that process. So we reserve the right that we have to generally consider that a lot of times we put a lot of energy into putting out firefights. And for those who don't have a knowledge of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the SCLC was once the most powerful civil rights organization in the country. And its political base at its core rivaled probably or was the top civil rights organization. In the 50s and starting in the late 50s and 60s, the SCLC was the strategic organization which focused on large-scale campaigns like the Birmingham March and Selma to win national legislation. The SCLC focused on community organizing to build a political power base, and in many communities, there was tension between a lot of the other organizations, but the SCLC stood in contrast to those organizations. It's very important that people understand the history, because most people know the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in relation to its first president, the founding president, which is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So the question of the hour is the SCLC. And if anybody has seen the movie Selma, then you pretty much have an idea of what the SCLC is and was. Myself, I've been probably a member of the SCLC for probably several years. And that membership was what led me to founding Freedom First International. I was actually a president. I was a county president in Florida, Gainesville, Florida, Alachua County, for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. But I started in Charlotte, North Carolina. And my job was to go into college campuses and organize and help organize the college campuses, which at that point in time, Damian Connors, who was one of the leaders of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference for a very short period of time, was my point of contact. And I came at a point where there was a president by the name of Dr. Creasy. Under Dr. Creasy's leadership, the SCLC started to flourish. And over the short period of time, he passed. In his leadership, the SCLC in 2012 started to see a lot of different presidents, which led to the current president, Dr. Charles Steele Jr. The reason why we are asking for a boycott, yes, we're asking for a boycott on World Human Rights Day, which is December 10th. We're asking for a boycott. The reason why we're asking for that boycott is simple. The Southern Christian Leadership Conference, like a lot of civil rights organizations, has changed path. You don't see these organizations serving the community anymore. This organization and its legacy, its rich history, was built, and at its core, again, I must say, and I can't say it, the self-determination led to national and even international change. This organization now is hungry, it's starving, and the membership doesn't support it because the leadership doesn't support it. It can't support itself. Why are we starting a boycott against the Southern Christian Leadership Conference again? Number of things. The visibility has been low, it's been limited, it's been lacking. Can you imagine a civil rights organization that merges itself and gets together with civil rights, with a payday loan organization to be a part of a payday loan structure? Could you imagine that? For those who just joined, the SCLC of Dr. King's Day was an organization that worked to gain equal rights for Americans, African Americans, and other minority groups through nonviolent civil protests and community development programs. The SCLC was also focused on internal problems of the Black community, including poverty. Most SCLC affiliates, led by its current president, which is President Charles Steele, who is a controversial, I should say, Alabama politician. Under Steele's leadership, this organization is viewed by many as an imposter organization that backs affiliates, and again, with predatory payday loan organizations, also considered loan sharks. The membership of the SCLC is now dwindling, possibly due to a misguided direction and a misguided mission, and not even possibly, but definitely. We must fight. I'm going to say that again. We must fight for an organization that Dr. King died for, and not this one. We must fight for the legacy of Dr. King's organization. Steele's SCLC has to be destroyed and rebuilt. We cannot take a Southern Christian Leadership Conference that backs payday loans, that stands outside of public interest, that places profitability above civil rights, human rights, and social justice. Dr. Steele, civil rights is not a business. We're calling for reform with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. At this point, I'm not interested in any other organization, even though a lot of the historical civil rights legacy organizations are challenged at this point in this day and age. We are starting our movement December 10th, World Human Rights Day. For those who don't know what World Human Rights Day is, World Human Rights Day is a UN organized movement around the world which focuses on just what it says, human rights. Every year we've been somewhere around the country on World Human Rights Day to stand for a cause, a human rights cause. Last year we were in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, standing with the family of Elton Sterling on World Human Rights Day. The year before that, I believe we were in New York on World Human Rights Day at the United Nations. The year before that, I was in South Carolina fighting for George Stinney Jr., which is the youngest person executed in U.S. history. Those were all World Human Rights Day movements. And I have pledged that every year on December 10th to do a cause or to stand for a cause, and our organization has consistently done that. So we stand and fight for the legacy of the SCLC, December 10th. More information will come. A change is going to come, and our campaign is Freedom Now. We cannot accept a organization, be it the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, that backs and affiliates with predatory payday loan organizations, also considered loan sharks. We fight for an organization that Dr. King died for, not this one, but the legacy of Dr. King has merit, even in this day and age. We stand and fight for that legacy. This SCLC, led by Charles Steele, has to be destroyed and rebuilt, or made a historical organization to protect and preserve the legacy, which is what we fight for. December 10th, 2017, World Human Rights Day. we boycott. Again, please wait for follow-up information, which will be attached to this video. And God bless everyone. And I appreciate everybody's support. God bless you.
Welcome again to SCLC Today. And of course, joining us is the SCLC President and CEO, Dr. Charles Steele. Dr. Steele, you've been in the news of late. Several papers across the country have published your commentary, your op-ed about payday loans and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Some people say it's controversial.
Well, everything is controversial when it comes to poor folks. Dr. King said this government is the enemy in terms of poor people, people of color, and this government is more anti-Negro than anti-rats. Dr. King said that, which means that they care more about holding poor people and people of color down than they really care about enhancing their improvements.
But your critics might say support of payday loans, as they're called, holds poor people down. You say differently.
Well, first of all, absolutely. The reason payday loan and title loan industry exists to any degree is the fact that people can't get access to capital with traditional banking. That's terrible, Mr. Eden. That is very terrible. What we're saying is that a lot of rumors has been floated out there, getting out in terms of various falsely accused things. And I'm not here to take up for no banks, because banks are not clean cut as well. No financial institution has the reputable reputation of being just fair for poor people. But all I'm saying is that we must find a way for poor people to access credit. $500, $400, whatever it is, $1,000, that's max. That's good for a small business person. Many of them use non-traditional banking because the traditional banks are not concerned about poor people.
So you're saying we're forced, in a sense, to use these so-called payday loans because you can't go to BB&T or some major bank and get access to money.
Absolutely.
I know I can't.
I can't either. And I own a business. I'm the president and CEO of SCLC, but I do own another business in health property value. And I know how difficult it is in my position in being a businessman to access from traditional banking.
But do we get ripped off by these people? Do we pay abnormal or over-the-top interest rates for it?
We even pay astronomically with traditional banking. Yeah. You go and write a check, and the check come back marked insufficient fund, or bounce, as we say. You'll charge $35 to $40 for that check. Most poor people who write a check, if they have a checking account, from the majority of the time, enough money is not in the bank, the check gonna bounce.
$36 for most banks.
Hello.
We go over your...
Yes, sir.
Read one of your paragraphs from here. You wrote a commentary. Read one of your...
I'm glad you asked. This is an op-ed that and as you know, man, I've been doing this for a number of years. I just didn't get out here on this in terms of representing poor people. Just the first paragraph. Last June, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau proposed a rule to severely restrict access to short-term loans. Let me say that again. To restrict access to short-term loans. Poor people don't want no major loan. They just want to get by for 30, 60, 90 days. Small businesses, not looking for no handout. They just want to have cash flow for 30, 60, 90 days. One young man just left me, an African-American contractor. He said, I couldn't bid on this hospital that's going to be a new hospital that's coming available in another state. He said, due to the fact that I had to wait 6 months to get paid.
So well, he couldn't afford to bid.
He couldn't afford it. He said, I could be competitive. He couldn't afford it, man.
So you've taken some hits and some congratulations for being on this issue, but you think your critics are wrong.
But let me just say this, man. Dr. King was killed during the Poor People Campaign, the most hated man in America. I'm in a position to take a hit because nobody cares about poor people.
You're listening to SCLC Today. Dr. Charles Steele defending poor people, as always. I'm Maynard Eaton. See you again soon.